Welcome back to today's deep dive. And I say welcome to you specifically, the inherently curious learner out there, because today's topic is, it's a big one.
Yeah, it really is. We are looking at a highly analytical, pretty dense document today called Evolution of Government.txt.
Right. And it's a fascinating text. But before we even get into it, we need to set the stage and, establish some hard boundaries.
Oh, absolutely. That is crucial here.
Because the moment we start talking about the pathology of government, it is like incredibly easy to just project that onto everyday partisan politics.
Right, which we are not doing.
Exactly. You're putting a hard stop to that right now. Both of us are completely impartial today. We're not taking sides on any political spectrum, no election cycle talk, no left-wing versus right-wing debates.
None of that. Our mission today is just to impartially unpack this document's objective look at human coordination.
Yeah, and the evolutionary baggage we bring into that coordination.
Wow.
Which brings us to the hook of this whole text.
Right, the premise that just kind of stops you in your tracks.
Tell them what it asks, because it's terrifying, honestly.
It really makes you think. The text asks, what if the human desire for authority, like the desire to be ruled, isn't actually a required pillar of civilization?
Uh-huh.
What if it's just an evolutionary mismatch, like a biological disease that we are slowly outgrowing?
Wow. Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand where governance is going, we really have to understand where our brain chemistry actually came from.
Exactly. You have to look at it like a biologist looking at an ecosystem.
So think about our craving for sugar. If you were an early human walking around the savannah, finding like a beehive full of dense, sugary calories was a massive survival advantage.
Oh, huge. Your brain would just flood with dopamine.
Right. It rewards you for eating as much as possible.
Mm.
And that kept our ancestors alive. But you take that exact same biological drive, right, and drop it into a modern world with supermarkets and high fructose corn syrup.
And suddenly you have a global health crisis.
Exactly. The trait that saved us is now causing systemic harm. And the source argues that our authority-seeking behavior follows that exact same pattern.
Yeah, it's what anthropologists call a trait that is locally adaptive but globally maladaptive.
Right.
So in small bands of early humans, maybe, 50 or 100 people, dominance hierarchies were super effective.
Because if a predator attacks, you can't exactly form a committee.
Right, you don't have time to debate. You need a dominance hierarchy to force rapid coordination. The strongest person takes charge, the tribe survives.
Makes sense.
But the text argues that when you take that localized biological drive and scale it up to an interconnected society of millions, it becomes highly destructive.
The text actually uses a really interesting medical analogy here, right, with the sickle cell trait.
Yes, the sickle cell analogy is perfect for this.
Yep.
So in a localized context, having the sickle cell genetic mutation actually protects you from malaria.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it acts as a biological shield. But if you inherit that trait from both parents, the red blood cells deform, they block blood flow, and it causes systemic harm across the whole body.
So the shield becomes the sickness.
Exactly. And the text introduces this technical term for how this happens in society. It's called runaway prestige dominance fusion.
Wait, runaway prestige dominance fusion. That's a mouthful. How does that actually work mechanically?
Well, imagine that small early tribe again. You've got one person who is like a phenomenal hunter. They bring in food, so they gain prestige.
Because they're useful to everyone.
Right. And because they're so valued, the group just naturally starts deferring to them on other things, like where to migrate or how to settle a feud. That's the fusion. Their earned prestige fuses with a dominant, authoritative role. In a tiny group, social pressure keeps them in check. But as societies scale up into massive cities, that fusion runs away.
Because the leader doesn't need to be a good hunter anymore.
Exactly. They just inherit the dominance without the competence.
Right.
The social pressure vanishes, and we get a concept called dominance hierarchy pathology.
Which, for you listening right now, this framing instantly changes how you view history.
It really does.
Like, we have this habit of looking back at disastrous regimes and blaming, bad apples. We assume the system itself was fine, but a bad guy got the keys.
Right.
But this shifts the blame to the structure itself. It's an actual institutional maladaptation.
Which is a great transition into the sheer scale of the harm this causes.
Yeah, let's get into that. Because if authority-seeking is maladaptive at a large scale, what happens when we build our whole civilization around it?
What's fascinating here is the staggering statistical claim the text makes. It introduces the concept of coercive hierarchical coordination.
Yeah.
And it claims that hierarchical authority is the single largest amplifier of harm in human history.
Wait, the largest?
Yeah, think about it. Most mass violence is organized by central states. Most catastrophic failures, like famines or endless wars, they're institutional failures.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Isn't government just made up of people? I mean, why blame the structure instead of the individuals? If you just put good, empathetic people in charge of a hierarchy, wouldn't work fine.
That's the assumption we always make, but the text pulls from psychology and sociology to explain why that fails. A centralized hierarchy actually selects for the worst traits.
Oh, like a filter.
Exactly. It acts as a magnet for dark triad traits,
Mm.
narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism.
Because in a coercive hierarchy, those traits are actually an advantage.
Right. If you are highly Machiavellian, you are perfectly willing to manipulate, hoard information, or backstab your way up the corporate or political ladder.
And an empathetic person just won't do that.
Right. An empathetic person self-limits.
Mm.
So the system inherently filters out the good people and hands the keys to individuals with an authoritarian personality syndrome.
Yeah.
And the text references thinkers like Foucault, who argued that power essentially just justifies itself, and Nietzsche and Christopher Lasch.
Basically proving that centralizing decision-making is incredibly high risk.
Yeah, especially when you factor in what political scientist James C. Scott calls high modernist overreach.
Which is what, exactly?
It's the delusion that a small group of central planners can perfectly engineer a complex society from the top down. They have all the power, but none of the local information.
Oh, I see. So they mandate some sweeping policy, but they don't know the actual realities on the ground.
Right. And because they're a coercive hierarchy, nobody can push back. So the policy goes through and millions suffer.
So if centralized authority is this dangerous and literally filters for the worst people, why do we worship the concept of leadership so much culturally?
That is the million-dollar question.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the text dives into semantic capture.
Yes, and legitimacy laundering.
Which I love that term. Think about it like this. Imagine a giant corporate monopoly, right? They crush local businesses, they inflate prices.
A totally extractive system.
Exactly. But they don't call themselves a monopoly. On their billboards, they call themselves a community connectivity initiative.
Right, they hide behind good words.
Exactly. It's concept creep. Harmful behaviors have co-opted the positive word leadership.
And the text breaks down the objective anthropological criteria for actual leadership to clear this up.
Okay, what is the strict definition?
A rigorous definition of leadership completely excludes coercion.
Really? No coercion at all?
None. It excludes domination, extraction, and manipulation. If you hold a monopoly on violence to make people obey, you aren't leading, you are ruling.
Huh. So what does true leadership actually include?
Just coordination, empowerment, and mutual benefit. Anthropology draws a strict line between dominance leadership and prestige leadership.
Okay, break those down.
Dominance leadership is extractive and fear-based. Do what I say or I'll put you in a cage.
And prestige leadership.
That's the functional, healthy version. It's freely granted by the group because someone is exceptionally skilled or wise.
Like following the best tracker in the woods?
Exactly.
You're not following them because they have a weapon pointed at you. You follow them because they know where the water is and you want to survive.
Right, and the moment they start leading you into a swamp, you can just stop following them. There's no coercion.
That makes so much sense. So what does this all mean for us today? If we strip away dominance and coercive leadership, do we just, descend into total chaos?
That's the natural fear, right? We assume without someone holding a stick, society collapses.
Right. Like, you listener might be wondering how anything actually gets done.
But the text offers a brilliant grounding concept here from political philosophy called the global minima of rulemaking.
Let's use the driving example from the text because it makes this so tangible.
Oh, yes, the driving on one side of the road example.
Right. When you drive to work, you stay in your lane, you stop at red lights, but you don't do that because a dictator's in the passenger seat threatening you.
No, you do it because you don't want to die in a head-on collision.
Exactly. You don't need a ruler. You just need a shared protocol.
And that is what the text calls a coordination rule. The global minima differentiates sharply between coordination rules and coercive rules.
Okay, so a coordination rule is just about preventing physical harm.
Yes, exactly. Standardizing electricity so your TV doesn't explode or driving on the right side of the road. They are necessary to prevent harm.
And coercive rules.
Those are preference-based. They are symbolic or bureaucratic. and they are completely unnecessary for survival. They just enforce the will of the dominant group.
Oh, I want to jump in here and ask you, the listener, to do a mental audit of your own life right now. Think about your workspace or your local government.
That's a great exercise.
Just think about it. How many of the rules you follow actually prevent physical harm, and how many are just coercive bureaucratic constraints?
If you really audit it, you'll realize most of the friction in our lives is purely coercive.
It's just some manager justifying their salary.
Exactly. So having defined what needs to be removed, coercion, and what needs to stay, coordination, we have to ask, what does the future actually look like?
Right, the post-hierarchical future.
Yeah.
Because the text suggests algorithmic mediation and coordination by AI, and honestly, massive red flag for me.
It sounds dystopian at first, I know.
Yeah. Isn't replacing a government with AI just swapping human dictators for digital overlords?
It would be, if that's what it meant. But the text firmly clarifies that this is not rule by AI.
Okay, then what is it?
It envisions a distributed autonomy civilization. Humans remain total equals. Authority isn't handed to a machine. It's replaced entirely by transparent information flow.
Interesting.
They call it cybernetic libertarianism. And they specify cybernetic in the systems theory sense, not as a political stance.
So wait, how does that actually stop bad actors without a police force? Like, practically.
The text outlines concrete transition steps. The big one is institutional immunology.
Institutional immunology, what does that mean?
It means designing systems where the levers of power literally do not exist to be captured.
Oh, I see.
Think about a traditional bank. A Machiavellian person becomes CEO, and now they have coercive power over your money. But if you replace the bank with an open-source decentralized protocol, like in decentralized finance, there is no CEO office to capture.
Because it's just a transparent algorithm verifying transactions.
Exactly. The system is physically immune to dominance-seeking people.
That goes back to the traffic light analogy. A traffic light doesn't extract taxes, it doesn't demand loyalty, it just processes information so we don't crash.
Yes, it just mediates the physical constraints. And if someone tries to take over, the distributed network just routes around them.
Okay, so the systems themselves become immune. But what about the people? The text also mentions cognitive immunology.
Right, which is the educational side of this.
Like mental antivirus software.
Exactly. If we are outgrowing this mismatch, we have to educate people to instantly spot authority pathologies.
Oh, like recognizing when someone is using legitimacy laundering.
Exactly. Hundreds of years ago, people didn't wash their hands because they didn't know about germs.
Right, and now it's just basic hygiene.
Right. Cognitive immunology means teaching people to feel that same reflexive disgust toward dominance-seeking behavior. We learn to spot the dictator before they even get a following.
Man, this is just an incredible arc we've covered today.
It really is a paradigm shift.
I mean, we started out talking about brain chemistry on the savannah and how the dopamine hit of following a leader kept us alive.
And then we saw how that became globally maladaptive, the root cause of all this institutional pathology.
And we looked at semantic capture and how the word leadership got hijacked by coercive rulers.
Right, moving us toward that global minima of allowable freedom, stripping away the coercion until only coordination is left.
A completely post-hierarchical civilization with minimal coercion, maximal autonomy, and zero extractive structures.
A system that is literally immune to tyrants.
I want to sincerely thank you, the listener, for going on this intellectual journey with us today. It is dense material, but deeply rewarding.
It's vital stuff to understand.
It is. And before we go, I know you had a final provocative thought from the text that you wanted to leave everyone with.
Yeah, I do. It builds on the text, but pushes a bit beyond it.
Right.
We talked about cognitive immunology, right?
Hmm.
Educating ourselves to reject authority-seeking behavior.
Right.
But if we actually do this, if we eventually transition to a post-hierarchical society where dominance is functionally impossible, what happens to human ambition?
Oh, wow.
Think about it. For all of history, our evolutionary energy has been channeled into conquering and climbing ladders. How will we channel all that leftover energy when there are no more ladders left to climb and no one left to conquer?
What an incredible concept to mull over. Well, until next time, keep looking past the surface noise, keep questioning the structures around you, and as always, keep learning.